Hi, everybody. Welcome to the SyFy Sistas live stream. Hello.
Woo-hoo!
Woo-hoo.
Hey.
We're so excited to be here with you all tonight. And thank you all for joining us. We see all the folks out there in the crowd, and JR and Tony Tone and Dave Gregory and DJ Kitty Cat and Jonathan Quee and a whole bunch of other people. And guess what? We have some really, oh, hey, Anna, and some really, really special folks visiting us before we start our show tonight. Okay. So I want to, Yvette, you going to go ahead and bring our special guests in?
Sure am.
We want to welcome John Billingsley, Natalia Castellanos, Jonathan DelArco, and the wonderful Michelle Hurd. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you all here. And please let everybody know what you guys are so adamantly pushing right now, because we are huge, huge supporters.
Well, there are four of us, so in the interest of helping to moderate this, may I suggest, Jonathan, you start by talking a bit about the event that is happening on the 8th in LA and New York, and then I'd love to have Natalia and Michelle talk a bit about why we are on strike. Well, fighting for it.
I'm back. Am I here?
You're here.
Yes.
Okay. So on the 8th, as sci-fi lovers know, is a very special day of a show which I will call the franchise. It's a show that is very well known, over 57 years, celebrating on September 8th. And this day is celebrated around the world, really. So we, as SAG-AFTRA and this little group of us, have decided that it was a day that we should take back with the fans and with the actors and the creatives who are on strike against the studios.
And the WGA.
And invite the fans to come join us and close to 75 to 100 Star Trek. Damn, I said it. Say it, and I said it. Franchise actors who will be picketing outside Paramount in Los Angeles and West Coast, and also in New York.
Oh,
in Los Angeles.
Oh,
getting feedback.
Echo.
Sorry about that.
That's the delay.
Space, the final frontier.
Are we in a time loop?
Yeah.
that is the story.
The trope.
I'm here to invite you to.
I'm going to just jump in a smidge more. It's a 2-hour picket from 10 to noon on the West Coast in front of the Paramount Gates on Melrose, right off of Gower. Going to be a crowd, Uber, Lyft. Be prepared for parking to be a hassle. So if you can take public transportation, it'll be hot. Sunscreen, water, a hat. It's going to be a big crowd. In New York, 1515 Broadway from 9:30 to noon. And this is driven by our desire to bring the fans really fully into the fold of our mutual embrace in this ecosystem that belongs to us, to all of us.
That's right.
So Jonathan and Natalia and I have been working on trying to get a big crowd over the course of the last couple of weeks with the wonderful cooperation of SAG and WGA. And I'd love to hear from Natalia and Michelle about what the issues are and what this fight is all about.
Great. I'll take a couple, and then Michelle, you could take a couple, right? We're fighting for so much, right? But as we know, the major things that we're asking for and fighting for, one of them is minimum wages, right? We need an increase in minimum wages because we haven't gotten an increase enough with inflation. And so this year we're really trying to push to let our members at least get the base. And, you know, as maybe some of you know and some of you might not know, as actors, we work every day for free auditioning. It's as if somebody who has a 9 to 5, you know, goes every day in a week, maybe has 3 different interviews, and they have to learn a bunch of new skills and a bunch of new dialogue. So the payment, our minimums that might pay an actor a day, and you might not work for another 2 years or a year or a month later, has to sustain us for a while. So that's one of the asks that we're really fighting for this time around. Things also like healthcare. Healthcare is a huge topic for us because out of 160,000 members, only 86% of our membership actually qualifies for healthcare. And to qualify for healthcare, you have to make $26,470 a year. And so what is happening is that a lot of our members are falling out of health insurance coverage because they can't make that in a year. That's under poverty line if you think about it, right? And Michelle, if you want to touch on our other two tent poles.
Certainly. One thing I'd like to say first off, though, is one of the reasons that we are so excited about doing United We Trek is because we want to celebrate this community. What is so wonderful about our Trekkie family, and we can say Trekkie, our Trekkie family, is that we are all sort of united in how we have ingested what Roddenberry had put out there. We all believe in this concept of a better tomorrow, of inclusivity, of diversity, of perfectly imperfect beings. And what's beautiful about that is that the stories that have lasted for so long because of these amazing performers that and writers that brought these stories to life, we, the Trekkie community, have uplifted and held on to those storytelling ventures. So it's not that we are trying to chastise this beautiful family and this beautiful franchise. What we're trying to do is uplift and celebrate the performers and the Trekkie family that have celebrated these stories. So United We Trek is for us to all basically come together again and to celebrate that, as opposed to some other scenario that kind of celebrates the platform it was being shown on. So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
There's a word that I find myself using more and more, which is ecosystem, which is what I think we really have to look at, not just in Hollywood, but throughout the world. And everybody inhabits multiple ecosystems. The business ecosystem that we inhabit, all of us, the studio heads, the writers, the directors, the actors, the designers, the grips, you name it, everybody, and the fans, is endangered when only some people think they can define the shape and the practices of those ecosystems. And what we are really saying is you guys have created a structure that does not allow everybody in this ecosystem a chance to survive. If 86% of our membership isn't even able to afford health care in the most expensive city in the country, you're making it impossible for the next generation of actors to even think about going into this business.
That's right.
So it's an ecosystem challenge, and we're really wanting the fans to help us by saying, hey, come back to the negotiating table and let's start talking again, for God's sake.
That's right. And I have to say, what I love about going to the cons is talking to our Trekkie family, and they are so ready and galvanized and ready to do whatever. They're like, tell me what you want. You want me to cancel some? I will let you do it.
That's right.
Let me just touch on a couple of things that Natalia had spoke about, and just to give you guys another little input. So SAG-AFTRA is a proud union of 160,000 members, and that consists of voiceover actors, singers, dancers, stunt performers, background artists, and principal artists. Now, out of those 160,000 people, 98% of that 160,000 basically make less than $12 an hour. 87% don't qualify for their health insurance, which is $26,000 a year to qualify. Meaning, and I've said this many times, but it's really hard. It's really important to drive this through. That 2% that I didn't talk about, that's the big old stars. Those are the ones who live in the high life. 98% are the working class actors, laborers, who we hustle for every single job. Those are the people who you say, who's that? There's that guy on that show. There's that girl on that show. I don't remember their names, but I recognize their face, and I've seen them for decades and decades. Meaning I could do 3 or 4 guest spots on any television show that that's your favorite show, whether it's on linear programming or streaming platforms. I could do 3 or 4 guest spots. And because I'm forced to take a salary that is called top of show that was never in a SAG-AFTRA contracts, it's a made up term that producers created, meaning they will only go the base minimum. They will only pay me the base minimum for the honor of doing their show. So that means I'm making just anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000 for an episode. And if I did the 5,000 or 6,000, I could still do 3 or 4 guest spots on big shows, and you guys are like, damn, that curly haired girl, she's hustling, she's working. I see her on everything. She must be blowing up. No, I still have not qualified for my health insurance. That's a big, huge thing. Our streaming residuals, which is this new concept because we have these new, which is not really new because it's been 15 years now, but this concept of new, which is the streaming platforms. We go away for 4 or 5 months. We shoot 10 episodes. The streaming platforms hold on to that show. They drop it whenever they feel like it. Meanwhile, I am still struggling, trying to figure out if I have another job or not. They drop that platform. As we all know, we can watch the whole show in one weekend. However, I still am tied to that show. That streaming platform can hold me for 1, 2, 3, 4 years before they inform me that not only whether we're coming back for a second season, but whether or not I am being brought back for a second season. This is what we have to deal with. And AI technology, which is something that I really want. I know that actors are really shiny. Actors and writers are really shiny, and we're sort of the figurehead of this. But AI technology is here. It's been here, and it affects every single person, everyone. It doesn't matter what your vocation. If you had an ex, a bad breakup, that bad breakup person, he or she could take your face, put it on something that you do not want to be part of, and blackmail you or ruin you. So this AI technology, what the writers and the actors are fighting for is strong guidelines to protect us. I'm sure you might have heard that the AMPTP had presented an offer for background artists who come in to do 1 day of background work, which is less than $200, anywhere between $150 and $187. To do 1 day of background work, they will scan my person, create an avatar of my person, and then they're allowed to keep my avatar in their library in perpetuity forever and ever, and I will never get 1 penny, meaning I could sit on the couch, watch a TV show and go, is that me in the front row of the courtroom? And I will never get a penny because it's now in their library.
So we're fighting for the compensation and the allow for us to be able to give consent to what we want, right? Because that's so important. And just to give one small perspective on even minimums, what the AMPTP is offering us is in real dollars, it would actually be like 10% lower. We would be making less money in 2023 in real dollars than we made in 2020.
That's right.
That's just like not even livable.
And one of the things to point out that little what she just said, the contract that we're working on right now will take us to 2026. So that means that in 2026, in real dollars, we'll be making less than we did in 2020.
One of the things I also really want to talk about in the limited time we have is what fans can do to make a difference. Obviously, this is Friday, 1 brick in the wall. We pick it every day. We pick it every day all across the country, in New York, Los Angeles, and in other spots. You can find out where pickets are perhaps in your region and go out and join us. I honestly believe that the presence of fans on the line, if we could actually start asking people to consider coming out and joining us, could make a significant difference in continuing to move the PR needle. And we look at the nature of the way the AMPTP has acted since this strike began, when I think they genuinely thought that people would take their side in this dispute. They're realizing that a very small number of people are on their side. Most people are, as they tend to be, on the side of labor. The more we can keep the needle moving away from the AMPTP to us, the more we can begin to exert in the court of public opinion enough pressure to get them, again, to come back to the negotiating table. Write letters, make phone calls. If in your 401k portfolio you have Apple stock or Disney stock or Netflix stock, etc., you're a shareholder. And they are making decisions that are deleterious to your best economic interests, I guarantee you. As shareholders, don't be shy about picking up the horn and say, hey, you're thinking about your short-term profits, but the long-term implications of the decisions you're making are killing your business. So that's a thought.
And as well, amplify on social media. We live in the age of social media. So please amplify. You see somebody tweeting or pictures of picketing, information that we clarify about what our contracts are, amplify it, because we need to shame them. They need to understand that we all know that this is a labor issue, that they are trying to keep that divide between the haves and haves not, and we will not accept it. So, amplify, amplify, amplify.
And bravo, Wanda. Back in the 1950s and into the 1960s, 1/3 of the American labor force was unionized.
Mm-hmm.
Now is 1 out of every 10 people belongs to a union. And we have seen a concomitant decline in our standard of living as a country. We have seen a lot of people now not even being able to, 1 in 5 American children is food insecure. We are one union, but the nature of this fight, it's everybody's fight to bring power and potency back to our labor force. So,
and it's so important to educate. Oh, go for it, Jonathan.
No, I was just going to remind folks that are listening, because I know Michelle makes this point a lot, and I 100% agree with it. Think back 3 years from ago when we were all locked down. We all turned to our TV sets, and the only solace we had, the only human contact some of us had, were watching those shows that we all made.
Yes.
It was all work. It was our collective work as human artists.
That's right.
Helped us get through that pandemic. And how quickly they forget.
That's true. I know, right?
How quick we forget, how valuable this thing we do as artists really is to the human race.
I don't think the fans have forgotten.
No. Not the fans.
Yeah.
The executives who profited from that is what I'm talking about. We make a vital contribution to the culture.
It's so true, honey, because it's literally, and I know I've said this before, but storytelling is a sacred art form. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being sort of dramatic. It's a sacred art form. It is literally the fabric of our society that keeps us knitted together. Art, storytelling, art, specifically, it could be music, painting, sculptures, dance, acting, writing. This is what is a universal language that brings us together as human beings. It is the soul of humanity. And to sort of try to silence it, to try to substitute it for AI technology, to try to regulate it as if it's something that is not worthy to be paid for. In 10 years, if we don't stop this now, in 10 years, being an artist will no longer be a viable vocation. And that has to stop.
Yeah.
Because that's the decision young artists have to make all the time is, do I have a whack at being able to actually make a living at this? And it's a really hard thing that we all, when we're young, have to actually consider. And, many of us are going to fly in the face of the likelihood that we may not make a living. But as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to continue to make those decisions. If you want kids, if you want a house, if you want any kind of middle-class security, you have to at some point face this existential question of, is there a ladder for me to climb? If there's no ladder to climb, you'll see a lot of amazing artists simply throw up their hands and give up. And that is a cultural tragedy. And as again, I totally agree with Michelle. It sounds hyperbolic, but I'm 63 years old. I'm here fighting for the next generation of artists and the generation behind them. That's how labor got built. You go back into the 19th century and you think there were people, and we stand on their shoulders, who fought so kids didn't have to go into the mines. So we had 8-hour days instead of 14-hour days. So there were no company stores. So we had weekends off. All the labor protections that we now take for granted as part of the fabric of society were fought for by people that we now owe a great deal of responsibility to. That's why we do this.
Yeah. And it's so hard just as an artist in general, I think is what most don't understand or know maybe is most artists have side jobs as well, because the art form, what we have, does not sustain us. So whether it be, waiters or, Uber drivers or people that work at a supermarket or a teacher or right. I've done even promo modeling because I wasn't able to sustain, especially living in Los Angeles, which is such an expensive city in the country that it makes it so hard. So what we're fighting for is just to be able to do what we love and to be able to share what we love with everybody, because art is so important. I mean, it goes back to the caveman days, right? When they were drawing on the wall.
And then 5 people running.
Yeah. It's important, and we have to make it important, right?
And it's the ethos of Star Trek. The ethos of Star Trek is rooted in collaboration, cooperation, working together, setting aside our differences, setting aside the things that we find problematic about each other to come to a place where we all say there's a good. that derives from our coming together. It's bigger than we are.
It
And
is.
that's what this show is about. And it's why we want the fans to come and celebrate, I'm going to say it, Star Trek Day.
United we trek.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us and bringing us that message. I have a quick question. Is there an official account that people can help the artists on strike financially?
Yes.
Yeah.
SAG-AFTRA Foundation.org. SAG-AFTRA Foundation.org. It's an emergency assistance fund.
You can find it in the description of this program. It's already there.
And if anybody wants to see any fun, like any other pickets that they want to join, whether it be in New York or LA or anywhere else,
Albuquerque or Chicago.
exactly, they can go to
Awesome.
SAG-AFTRAstrike.org, and then they can look for special pickets, and then just choose your location and see what's happening, that week or that month, and that's.
And there are special pickets happening every day. So
Yeah.
even if, probably if you're watching this, you're a Star Trek fan. But on the off chance you stumbled on this and you're actually an NCIS fan, there's an NCIS picket up there you can go through.
There
And
may
also,
be in
if you-
Sacramento. Maybe.
Another way also to just join and kind of jump in there is SAGAFTRAshop.org. You can get some T-shirts. You can get some of our Pride T-shirts. We're going to have some of our con T-shirts up there, and SAG-AFTRA Strikes T-shirts up.
I also want to make sure that Michelle is recognized because she really, I think, single-handedly fought within the negotiating committee to make sure that people understood that the cons can and should continue, which for a lot of folks, obviously fans, but even for a lot of the actors and the writers who may not have as much income coming from programming, those cons are an important part of their life's blood. So thank you, Michelle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, literally. I think myself, Sean Astin, and Samantha Mathis, when the con discussion came up in the room, we were both like, oh, come on back here. Because once again, one of the things that first of all, in the franchise that Jonathan and I are part of, that we're all a part of, is there are some actors whose only income are the cons.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be damned if I'm going to take that away from them because of what the AIM-PTP is doing.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do again is we want to amplify the contribution of artists, the writers and the actors, and the connection that they have with their fans. We want to amplify that. We want to solidify that. We want to make that the most solid thing, because that's what we are drawn to. You're drawn to see what this performer is going to do with that character. You're drawn to see what that writer is going to write to tell these stories. You're not drawn to go to this streaming platform. It's not like, I don't even care if it's on that streaming platform, but let me go to that streaming platform. No.
Or even Michelle, no.
And the reason the con was so important was so that we could really make sure that the connection between the actors and the fans stay solid, stay respected, and amplify the importance of that.
Well, and at the end of the day, nobody goes to the cons to get a signature from any Paramount CEO or
right.
Nope.
For those who weren't there, the Vegas con was very successful, and we navigated this whole question of what we could or couldn't say quite easily.
It was effortless, right, honey? It was effortless, and the fans were so phenomenal, so phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, I'll join you guys at one day.
We're going over your allotted time, I bet, guys. So you kick us off. We're all gabbing.
Sorry, long-winded.
You can all of you can always come back anytime.
Mm-hmm.
So just JB has my number, unfortunately. So definitely always come back. We love all of you. So we're so proud of everything you're doing, and please come back anytime. Before or after the strike.
Freudian slip there, huh?
Well,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we do love you all very much. All of you individually mean the world to us, but collectively, your efforts on behalf of the other creatives out there really means a lot to us, because we agree with everything you said, Michelle. I literally just spoke those words about storytelling being our life and our as human beings on our show just like 2 shows ago, almost word for word. So you guys you're everything to us. Everybody who helps bring these stories to life for us, who helps us get through every day. It means the world. So we will always have your back, no matter what.
Thank you.
Thank
Love
you,
you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much for having this platform for us to be able to share and explore and amplify and inform people. We really appreciate it.
Always.
And we hope to see you
always.
all out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
That's
See you on
right.
Friday. See you on
Okay.
Friday. United.
I'll be in New York, so
United
I'll
we
see you guys.
trek, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, let me see. Hold on. Let me make sure I do this correctly. Make sure I gotta
I'm telling you,
all around.
I know, right? Yay, that was awesome. That was so cool. I'm so glad that you all made it in for that. And we're so glad that you were
Yeah,
able
no.
to join us. The comments in the chat were great, you guys.
Yes.
Definitely. All right. So do we want to kick this show off?
Yeah, let's